Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to break down the 4-game Call of Duty main slate on Friday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name is DK. I make daily videos breaking out NBA, NFL, and esports daily fantasy sports slates. Esports including CSGO, League of Legends, and this one, Call of Duty. Also, if you guys are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, would really appreciate it if you could leave a 5-star rating and a review. As I continue to grow the podcast as well as this YouTube channel. We're at 3.31 thousand subscribers. So thank you guys again for all the support. Really do appreciate it. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So if you guys notice something different, I'm now on the right side of the screen. That's just going to be for this Call of Duty video because I already recorded this once, and then I noticed that my screen was blocking a lot of the Excel doc, so now I got to make it over. But so that's why I'm on the right side of the screen instead of the left. But if you guys are new to Call of Duty DFS and how it works, so Call of Duty are their best of 5 series, and the games include Hardpoint, Search and Destroy, and Domination. And the rotation of those games goes Hardpoint 1. Search and Destroy 2, Domination 3, Hardpoint 4, Search and Destroy 5. The game mode that players score the most in is Hardpoint. So really, those are the two. Well, I guess we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But there's in Call of Duty, there's no rounds not played or maps not played bonus, right? So if a team wins 3-0, you do not get points for those last 2 maps. So you really have to. It's a very high variance game, right? There's a lot of luck involved. You kind of, again, you need your players to get at least that second hard point. The 4th in the series is the key. If you can get players to that second hard point, then you're probably in good shape. But if you target players and the game's at a 3-0, it's going to be tough. Tough to win a lot of money there with, again, them missing out on 2 maps for fantasy points. So yeah, like I said, it's a highly variant game. You will have, I mean, there's been, 3 or 4 Call of Duty slates now on Draftkings. We've seen games that have basically been a pick'em and teams have won 3-0, and we've seen games where a team has been pretty heavily favored and the underdog has forced it to 4 or 5 games. So yeah, sure, there is a lot of luck involved. You got to get a little bit lucky and hope your players that you target get at least 4 maps or even 5. 4 games, 5 games, however you want to call it. So that's basically the overview of Call of Duty. Scoring-wise, again, you get 2 points for a kill, 1 point for a death. There is some OBJ points, but it's not huge. You can see these in the far right of this Excel doc with average kill time for hardpoint. So you get 0.1 points for every second in the hard point. So on average, players get about 5 or 6 points per hard point, I should say. So not a big deal. Caps for domination, the same thing. It's 1 point for cap. So on average, about 4 or 5 points per game there. And then Search and Destroy, they do have bomb plants and diffuses, which are +3, but those are pretty rare. Normally, a player won't get more than 1, maybe 2. So yeah, I mean, those stats are, I wouldn't really focus on them. I included the hardpoint and the domination ones, but really what you should be focusing on here is the overall KD and the overall kills. So let's first start with Atlanta, I guess. So they, in my opinion, are the best team right now in Call of Duty. You could make an argument for Chicago, but Atlanta's been playing really well. I did also include the overall record here for the teams. Atlanta is 15-2, and the Vegas odds as well. They're -4,000 favorites. We have not seen that big of a favorite here yet on Call of Duty, so that is pretty insane. I kind of get it, right? Seattle has been really struggling, and Karma just decided to retire. So, yeah, I kind of get it, right? But let's talk about the Atlanta players' salaries. So, The salaries look really good on these guys, especially Simp at 8.8K and Celium at 8.4K. Those two really stand out as good plays to me. Normally we see these guys in the 10K range. Now they're in the low to mid 8K range. Again, Simp at 8.8, Celium at 8.4. Both have enormous upside. Simp spotting a 1.19 overall KD, Celium a 1.21. Again, they're both the two guys that do really carry this roster for FaZe. Now, the reason I included overall kills is because a guy like Major Maniac, right? He looks decent, right up 1.11 overall KD. That's pretty good. But if you look at his overall kills compared to everyone else in this team, not so good, right? So he's more the stand back kind of OBJ player. He's not going to do a whole lot of slaying. So that's why I included those overall kills, because the overall KD can be a little bit deceiving sometimes for a player like a Major Maniac, right? But Cilium and Semp look really, really good to me. Abizi and Priesta doesn't make sense for me to get to them unless you're going to get super, super contrarian. Now, the concern with these Atlanta guys is obviously they're huge favorites, right? Minus 4,000. So there is a pretty decent chance they win 3-0, and that's not good, right? You want at least 4 games, 5 games, 4 maps, 5 maps, however you want to call it. So that's the risk here with these FaZe guys. Draftkings did a good job pricing them down because they're such heavily favorites that, again, there's a pretty decent chance they win 3-0. But if Seattle can bring this to 4 maps, right? If they can win, the map I think they can win is that first S&D, the second map in their rotation. Normally, underdog teams, they can usually win an S&D. So if Seattle can win that S&D, you could see, again, obviously the game would go 4 maps or 4 games, which would be huge for FaZe. But yeah, that's the risk, obviously, is the really good chance that this is a 3-0. But if Seattle can force it to 4 games, Celium, Simp look really, really good for the price points. Let's talk about the Chicago guys now. So we have, if we take a look at players and their prices, we have R-Cities at 7.8, Envoy at 9K, Formal at 9.4, Pristini at 6.4, Scump at 7.4K. So Pristini, basic cross-off for me, the new addition. He's an OBJ player. I have no interest there. Formal, let's look at Formal and R-Cities, right? So we have Formal at 9.4K, R-Cities at 7.8K. If you look at their numbers, same overall KD, 1.08, 1.08. Basically the same overall kills too. So, obviously I'm going to prefer R-Cities for almost $1,500 less. So yeah, I think R-Cities compared to Formal looks really good. Now, can you play both of them? I think you can, right? If you want to game stack it, sure, it's a viable build. I think those two are the two main slayers in this team. But if you're going to just make me pick one, I'm for sure going to go with the way cheaper guy in R-Cities when they have almost identical numbers. Envoy at 9K is pretty much a stay away for me. I think that's a little bit too expensive for me. And then Scump at 7.4K, I have a little bit of interest. If you mess around with the roster construction of DraftKings, normally you don't really have to play anyone too cheap. Maybe one guy in like the 7K range, unless you're going super contrarian and maybe playing a couple of Florida guys we'll talk about in a sec. But other than that, again, you really don't have to play a whole lot of the cheap guys. I think Scump is a guy that's going to be very low owned. You can consider him, right? He can have decent games for Chicago. So that's basically the breakdown there. Let's talk about Dallas now. So we have Dallas, Chicago is minus 260 favorites there too. I did want to mention that. They're the second biggest favorites of the day. So you have to take that into consideration. There's still a decent chance Chicago can win 3-0, right? So that's always something you got to keep in the back of your mind when targeting those players. Dallas at minus 240 favorites. So if you look at their price points here, we have Clayster at 8.2, Crimsex or C6 on DraftKings 5K, Hookah at 8.4, Illy at 7.6, and Shotzzy's at 9.8K. If you go that super contrarian build and play everyone expensive, then, Crimsex is too cheap at 5K. Again, in a normal build, you're probably not even going to look to him. Not great numbers, right? 0.94 KD. That's not terrible, though. He shouldn't be 5K. So if you're going that super contrarian build and maybe playing a couple of Florida guys and just everyone up top, then you had to play someone super cheap, I could see going to Crimsex there for that reason. The other guys in the roster, Hook at 8.4. I think he is the guy that I like the most for on this Dallas team. He's sporting a 1.03 KD. So not bad, right? I guess the downside with this Dallas team is they are a little bit more balanced, right? So anyone can really take over. But I think Hook, for his price, 8.4K, does look pretty good. And he has the most overall kills in his team, right, at 1452. Everyone else in the 1300 range. So he's the most aggressive player. He's going to be one of the most gunfights. So I think Hook does look pretty good there at 8.4. Shotzi has been playing well recently. Now, Draftkings did a good job raising his price to 9.8K. I still think Shotzi's is in play, but I'm going to prefer Hook for almost $1,500 less. Clayster at 8.2 I think is a viable play as well. Him and Hook are pretty similar. I'm just going to give the slight edge there to Hook personally, but not saying Clayster's out of play. Illy at 7.6K, yeah, they're just more of a contrarian play. I mean, he's going to be probably 5% owned, but nothing that really stands out there for me. Next, let's talk about this Florida team, right? So DraftKings, I'm not sure what they're doing with their price points here. Now, I get it, right? Skies and Pharaoh do have really good KDs, but should Pharaoh be 10.6K? Should Skies be 10K? I just think they're overpriced. Now, the good thing is, well, let's talk about Awakening first, I should say. So he's the new addition to the team, most likely subbing in from Mox. Now, it's not 100% confirmed, I believe, but I did a little bit of research on Twitter. It looks like he is more than likely going to sub in for his Florida team. And, yeah, he's at 5.4K. There's no stats on him. I know basically nothing about him, so that's basically just a shot in the dark if you did play him. Frosty and Havoc are kind of stayaways at their respective prices, 7.4 and 8K. Yeah, I just think there's better plays in the slate, so I'm not really interested there. Now, Skies and Pharaoh are going to be, in my opinion, pretty low owned, just because of their price points, 10K and 10.6K. They're underdogs. The good thing here, again, is the KD, right? These are the two that do carry the roster, so we kind of know where the production is going to be coming from. It's going to come from Skies, it's coming from Pharaoh. Now Pharaoh, again, don't put too much attention to this overall kills. He's more a newer addition, so that's not a huge deal. So yeah, I think Skies and Pharaoh are going to be low owned because of their price points, and I think they are overpriced. But that's not saying they're out of play, right? There is, if that game goes 5 maps, then there's a good chance those two can put up a really big day. And again, I think their ownership is going to be low. So I have some interest in those two guys as, I guess, slightly contrarian options. But again, they do have really good numbers. And if their game goes 4-5 maps, you could see them putting up pretty big numbers. Next, let's talk about this LA Gorillas team. So they're arguably the worst team right now in Call of Duty. They're sporting a 3-11 record. They're only plus 155 dogs, so that's because they're going up against Toronto, another bad team. So this is a game I think you can get some value here. On the LA Gorilla side, so Spart and Vivid are complete stayaways for me. Spart, a .73 kill death ratio. Vivid, 0.89. I have no interest there. Blast, Decimate, and Aqua, I do have some interest in. I think Decimate and Aqua I like a little bit more. Blast has the best overall KD, but he's not in a lot of those gunfights. I think I looked in DraftKings, he had like 16 kills a game, whereas Decimate and Aqua were around 20. So sure, Decimate and Aqua have slightly worse KDs, but they're going to be in more gunfights. They have more opportunities. So I think if I was going to target someone on this LA Gorilla team, it would be Decimate and Aqua. And I think they're just going to be low owned because, again, LA Gorilla is a really, really bad team, but they're also going up against a bad team. So that's why I think you can get some value here. Aqua, Decimate would be the two guys I would look to here on the LA Gorilla side. Next, let's talk about Minnesota. So the price points in this Minnesota guys honestly look really good to me. They are plus 175 dogs, but this is a game I believe Minnesota is, they're playing Dallas. So that's a game, if you look at the price points on Dallas, which I talked about, everyone's kind of cheap there. Everyone's really cheap on the Minnesota side. So this Minnesota team looks pretty good for their respective prices. Now, Asim and Silly are kind of stayaways for me at 6.6K and 6.6K respectively. But we have Alex, Assault, and GodRx. They look really good for their prices. You have Alex, a 7.6K price point. He's got a 1.07 KD. Again, high overall kills. Assault, same thing, 1.15 high overall kills. And God RX, too, 1.17 at almost 1,700 kills. Now, God RX is a guy that I've been playing a lot, and he's kind of been a letdown. I think, when DraftKings started having Call of Duty slates, he had like a 1.28 KD. So now he's down to 1.17. So sure, he's been struggling of late, but at least we know the upside's there. Like, we know God RX can carry this team when he's playing well. And you're getting him at a 7K price point. So I think that really stands out. I think Assault looks pretty good too at 8.2K. I think Alex is viable too. All three of those guys do look really good for their price points. So yeah, Minnesota is a team for the prices. They look pretty good here. I guess we can move on now to Seattle. So I only have 4 of the 5 players listed here because Karma retired. So do not play Karma. I assume Enable is going to sub in. I don't know if that's official yet. I haven't seen anything, but that's my assumption is Enable will be subbing in. If you look at players and their KD here for Seattle, I only have interest in one guy. That's Octane. Apathy, Slacked, and Pander, complete stay aways for me. If they add Enable's price in DraftKings, also stay away. I just have no interest. Seattle's a team that's really been struggling right. They're 4-12. You could argue them and the Grills right now are the worst teams in Call of Duty. The reason I have interest in Octane, obviously, is that KD, right? A 1.28, clearly the best player on his team. He uses the AR too, which is always a plus for guys in their KD. This is the build, right, where if you're targeting those phase guys and hoping Seattle can win one map, then I could see playing like Celium and Simp with Octane. Right, because we know, like, if that game goes 4, or the odd chance it goes 5 maps, you could just see those guys absolutely destroy their price points. So, sure, it's risky, right? There's a pretty good chance this one does end in 3-0 fashion with FaZe winning. But if Seattle can somehow pull off 1 map or even 2, you could see some really, really high-scoring games again from those 2 guys in FaZe, and especially Octane here in Seattle. So that's the only guy I would consider. I think it's more just a contrarian play, though, because there's, a really good chance that game does go 3-0. Lastly, we have Toronto. So this Toronto-LA Guerrilla game is, 2 really bad teams going up against each other, but I think there is some value here. Let's talk about players, their prices. So we have Cammy at 7.8, Classic at 8.6, Methods at 9.2, Metals at 7.2, Bance at 6.2K. So really, no one has like a terrible KD, but the guy that stands out to me obviously is Methods. 1.15 overall KD. He has he uses the AR too, which is always a plus for guys in their kill death ratio. Yeah, I think that does look like a pretty good price point. Now, we did see a previous game at Toronto where Metals had a pretty good game. I think we've seen Cammy have a decent game, but again, looking at the overall numbers, I think it's Methods that stands out the most to me on this Toronto side. So that's probably where I'd look to for Toronto. Yeah, if you guys are interested in this spreadsheet, I will tweet it out right after I upload the video. So make sure you guys follow me on Twitter. It is in the description below. It's DK__DFS. Yeah, it took me a little while to make this, so really would appreciate if you guys could leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell. It does really help me out to continue to grow this channel. Again, on the podcast, I'll leave a 5-star rating as well as a review there. But yeah, let's switch now over to DraftKings before we end this video. So give me 1 second here. Let me switch screens. I should be back in DraftKings now. Okay, so you have to play a team here. In my opinion, I think you just play FaZe and move on, with them being the biggest favorites of the day, unless you just want to get super, super contrarian. There's not much upside with choosing a different team. Really, you just want to make sure they win the series. So I think like at most a team can get like 28 points if they win 3-0, and then at least I think like 25. I think it's 0.5 points for every round 1 in S&D, something like that. There's really not a big difference here. So I don't think there's really a reason to not play FaZe in your lineup unless you're just going super, super contrarian. So yeah, my lineup tomorrow, it's going to start with FaZe. I'm not going to get risky there. I think you guys should too for cash games. For GPPs too, again, unless you want to get super, super contrarian and hope that, I guess again, they're the biggest favorites of the day by far. If Seattle somehow does upset Atlanta, that's going to kill so many people, but I really don't see that happening. So yeah, that leaves you 9.4K remaining. You do have to play someone in the captain spot, but really, again, if you avoid those Florida guys, you play a lot in this 8 to 9K range, maybe one guy in the 7K range, you can make a pretty good lineup. Now, again, if you play these guys up top, right? So if you play Farrell, if you play Skies, if you play like Octane, then you're going to have to play someone really cheap. And again, a guy like Crimsix, 5K, I think that's too cheap. Awakening, again, that's a complete shot in the dark. Know nothing about him. Have not seen him play. He's going to be, again, most likely subbed in there for Florida. And then, again, roster construction, it's all about how you think this slate pans out, right? If you think all four of these series are competitive, right, and go 4 or 5 maps, then you can have a mix and match of players. But if you think 1 or 2 go 4 or 5 maps, the other 2 go 3-0, then again, target the players in the games you think go 4 or 5 games. So again, guys, lastly, it's a highly variant game. Anything can happen. We've seen games that are projected to stay close, go 3-0. We've seen games where teams are huge favorites and the underdog pulls it to 4 or 5 games. So really, tread, I guess, don't go crazy in playing a lot of money here in Call of Duty because there's a decent amount of luck involved for sure. But I think that is going to do it for the video, guys. So if you haven't enjoyed the content so far, I really appreciate it. If you like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell. Again, guys, hitting the notification bell does really help me out to continue to grow this channel. But yeah, thanks again for everyone to come and check the video. I will have a video up for the CSGO slate on Friday right after this, so be on the lookout for that. Thanks again for everyone to come and check the video, and I will see you all in the next one.